Most service businesses fail because the service is bad. They fail because the client never clearly understands why paying makes sense. This video is about one skill only: structuring a clear value proposition that converts interest into payment. Not persuasion tricks, not closing tactics, not psychology hacks, just the practical communication skill that helps a client move from "I get it" to "I'm willing to pay for it." Introduction: the quiet gap between interest and payment. If you sell services online, consulting, design, marketing, development, coaching, operations support, this situation probably feels familiar. A prospect listens, they nod, they say things like, "That makes sense," or "I like your approach." Then they pause. They say, "Let me think about it," or "I'll get back to you," or "I just need to compare a few options." And most of the time, they don't come back. What's important to understand is this: in most cases, the client is not rejecting your service, they are rejecting uncertainty. They are not convinced yet that paying you is the safest, most rational next step for their business. This video explains what clients need to hear, not emotionally, but logically, before they cross that line. The core mistake most service providers make. Most people explain their service by describing what they do. They list tasks, features, tools, deliverables, steps. The problem is that businesses don't pay for tasks. They pay to avoid loss, reduce risk, save time, increase revenue, fix operational pain. If your explanation lives only at the "what I do" level, the client may understand your service perfectly and still not pay. Because understanding is not the same as justification. Payment happens when the client can internally answer one question: why does paying this make business sense right now? A value proposition exists to answer that question clearly. What a value proposition actually is and what it is not. A value proposition is not a slogan, a mission statement, a bio, a list of benefits, or a pricing explanation. A value proposition is a structured explanation that connects three things: 1. A specific business problem. 2. A measurable or tangible consequence of that problem. 3. A clear role your service plays in resolving or reducing that consequence. If any one of these is missing, the client feels unsure. Uncertainty is what stops payment. What clients are quietly evaluating while you talk. While you explain your service, clients are silently asking themselves questions like, is this problem actually serious enough to spend money on? Is doing nothing safer than paying? Is this person solving a symptom or a cause? What happens if I delay this decision? How will I know this was worth it? If your explanation doesn't help them answer these questions, they hesitate. Not because they dislike you, not because they don't trust you, but because the value is still abstract. The three things clients need to hear before paying. Across industries and service types, clients consistently need clarity on three dimensions before committing money. We'll walk through each one carefully. 1. What is actually at risk if this problem continues? Businesses don't act on vague discomfort. They act when a problem has consequences. Clients need to clearly hear what is being lost, what is being delayed, what is being wasted. If the problem feels optional, your service feels optional. This doesn't require fear tactics, it requires specificity. Instead of describing inconvenience, you describe impact. 2. Why this problem doesn't fix itself. Clients often assume problems resolve naturally with time. If they believe that, paying feels unnecessary. They need to understand why the issue persists without intervention, what structural reason keeps it in place, and why effort alone isn't enough. This reframes your service from extra help to necessary input. 3. What changes after the problem is addressed? Clients don't buy effort, they buy a new state. They need to hear what becomes easier, what becomes more predictable, what becomes controllable. This helps them visualize life after the decision. Payment happens when the after feels more stable than the before. How this skill connects to revenue without promises. When your value proposition is clear, fewer leads stall, fewer prospects ghost, fewer discounts are requested, fewer explanations are needed, not because you push harder, but because the decision feels safer to the buyer. This is not about increasing income magically, it's about reducing decision friction. Use case 1. A marketing consultant selling strategy, not execution. Let's make this concrete. Imagine a marketing consultant offering strategy sessions to small businesses. The common explanation. They say, I help businesses improve their marketing by creating better strategies, clearer messaging, and more consistent campaigns. This sounds reasonable, but from the client's perspective, the value is fuzzy. They may think, we already have marketing. We can figure this out ourselves. This sounds helpful but not urgent. Where the value proposition breaks, the explanation focuses on activities, not consequences. The client doesn't clearly hear what they are losing now, why waiting costs them, and what specifically improves after paying. A structured value framing, conceptual, not a script. A clearer value proposition would make the client understand their current marketing inconsistency causes wasted ad spend in unclear positioning. That inconsistency doesn't resolve without a strategic reset because execution amplifies confusion. After addressing it, marketing spend becomes more predictable and messaging aligns across channels. Now the service is no longer advice, it is a way to reduce waste and uncertainty. That's what businesses pay for. Use case 2. A web designer facing price resistance. Now consider a web designer selling service packages. The common problem. Clients say, your work looks great, but it's expensive. This is often misinterpreted as a pricing problem. It's usually a value communication problem. The underlying issue, the client sees a website, pages, design. They do not clearly see lost conversions, trust gaps, and friction in user decisions. Without that, cost feels arbitrary. What a clear value proposition changes, when the value proposition clarifies how unclear layouts reduce inquiry rates, how poor messaging increases bounce, and how design influences perceived credibility, the website becomes a revenue interface, not a visual asset. The client now evaluates the price against business performance, not aesthetics. That reframes the decision. Use case 3. An operations or systems consultant. Now let's look at a less obvious example. An operations consultant helps businesses improve internal workflows. The challenge, operations work is invisible when it's done well. Clients often say, we're busy, but things are working. The risk of vague value. If the consultant explains, I help optimize processes and improve efficiency, the client hears, nice to have. The value proposition shift. A strong value proposition makes clear how inefficiencies silently drain time and create bottlenecks, why growth increases chaos without systems, and how clarity reduces dependency on individual effort. Now the service protects time, stability, and scalability. Those are business assets. Why clients often say, let me think about it. When clients say this, they're often thinking about one thing, risk. They're weighing risk of paying against the risk of not paying. If your value proposition doesn't make the risk of an action clear, inaction wins. Not because it's better, because it feels safer. The difference between interest and commitment. Interest is emotional. Commitment is logical. Interest says, this makes sense. Commitment says, this decision is justified. Your role is not to convince. Your role is to help the client justify the decision to themselves. Why explaining more often makes things worse. Most service providers respond to hesitation by explaining more. More details, more features, more background. This often increases confusion. Why? Because the client doesn't need more information, they need clearer relevance. A good value proposition simplifies, not expands. How this skill saves time even when clients don't buy. Even when a client decides not to move forward, a clear value proposition saves time because decisions happen faster, objections surface earlier, and misaligned leads self-filter. That is also a business benefit. Why beginners struggle with this skill? Most people learn their skill before they learn how to frame its value. They focus on getting better, adding features, improving quality. They assume value will be obvious, but value is rarely obvious to someone outside your expertise. This skill bridges that gap. The mental shift required to apply this skill. To structure a strong value proposition, you must stop asking, "How do I explain what I do?" and start asking, "What does the client need to understand before paying feels rational?"
This is not manipulation, it's translation. Why this skill works across income contexts. Whether you freelance, consult, run an agency, sell retainers, or offer packages, the same principle applies. Businesses pay when risk is clarified, outcomes are concrete, and uncertainty is reduced. This skill adapts to calls, proposals, websites, emails, and content because it's about structure, not format. What happens when this skill is missing? When value is unclear, you compete on price, you attract hesitant clients, you face constant objections, you over-deliver to compensate. That's not a workload problem, it's a positioning problem. What clients actually want, but rarely say. Clients want to feel confident explaining the decision to others, secure that they didn't miss something, and justified if results take time. A strong value proposition supports all three. Why calm, clear explanation beats persuasion? Aggressive selling increases perceived risk. Calm clarity reduces it. When clients feel informed, they feel in control. Control leads to commitment. Bringing it all together. Clients need to hear what is at stake, why it won't fix itself, and what becomes easier after it's addressed. When those three are clear, payment becomes a logical step, not a leap of faith. That is the real job of a value proposition. Final thought. If you remember one thing from this video, remember this. People don't pay because they're impressed. They pay because the decision feels reasonable. Your value proposition exists to make that reason visible. Not louder, not flashier, just clearer. And clarity in business is often the most valuable service you can offer. Thank you. Stay tuned for the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive all the latest updates. And don't forget to like the video. See you soon.